Okay, so now let's start building our model, but before that we actually need to create a training data set, because as you know, you usually have to split your data into two parts. One will be the training data set and the other one will be the validation data set. So we have to go to filter and sort. Now we are creating a new data set actually, so that's why we have to move everything to the right. These are the variables that are going to be included into the new data set. Now we have to go to filter and set the condition. So we are setting the condition by the date. So that's why we are choosing this variable. Now we have to go here, and so the condition is actually that our forecasting horizon is going to be 1 month, and we're going to exclude December of 2012 from our training data set. That will be kept as our validation data set. So that's why the date is less than, and now we have to set 1st of December. So that's the idea. So this is our December, and the 1st of December is coming. Yes, that's our 1st of December. Right now we are creating just a temporary data set, work, filter, blah blah blah. But we want maybe to create a permanent data set. So for that you have to click on change, or actually you can just type it here. You can type BST477, which should correspond to the library that you set, to the lib name that you set, and we can call it bike Arima train, for example, just to know that we have the biking data set for the Arima model and its training data set. And let's click OK. So now this is the new data set that we created. It should have only 700 observations, which it does. It ends on the 30th of November, which is perfect. So now guys, we can start our analysis. And we have to go to Analyze, Time Series, Arima, Modeling and Forecasting. We already explored everything, so we do not have to do it now. We just have to drag our variable to the right, just to make to indicate which variables we're going to use for our model building and forecasting. But as we saw before, we actually had to do some differencing, so we're going to start with this. Differencing, difference the response series, difference in tags, lags is 1, and that's all we're going to do so far. Okay, so stationarity tests, they're not required. Plots and results, we don't have to do it. Let's just run. So you know, here we still have the information about our data set, you know, with the trend and correlation, but you can see that after differencing, we actually have much lower correlations or autocorrelations. In the autocorrelations plot, they are like really much lower, and in the partial autocorrelations, we see again a much lower. Maybe it's pretty much the same, but I mean it's not like, you know, as it was before. Now we also can see here in this time series plot that it's more or less stationary, not like before when it was going up, then down, then up again, and then down again. So that's the idea. Now we also can see that we lost one data point, so now the number of observations is not 700 but 699, because we differenced it at like 1. So now we're going to start with the AR process, though maybe an MA process would be more appropriate here. But I mean, we identified that we would need both, so right now it doesn't matter. So let's start with this AR process, and let's go to estimation. We have to click on the perform estimation steps, model definition. So this is actually where you will set your p-value and your q-value. And if you remember, the full Arima model is p, d, which is differencing, and then q. Some of them can equal to 0, which is also okay. So we're going to set it to 1. We have to start with the simplest things first. So you have to write 1 here, type 1 here, and click on add. And now we can go to model options, and we have to click on drop mean term from model because we differenced it, and in this case you actually have to drop mean. Now we have to go to results. like right now we do not need to save anything because we are not we do not have the built model yet, but in the future if we want to we can do it. So let's run. And this is our result. So this is like after the difference in the data, and now this is our AR coefficient that we have. We don't have any mean, so that's the thing that we will have. And as we can see right now, it's just begging us for this MA process. Oh, sorry, it's just begging us for the MA process to be included, because we can see that here we have more spikes and they subside slowly than here, right? So we'll have to also include an MA process into our model, and this is our autoregressive factor, and the periods of difference is set to 1. So now let's go again to modify task, and let's add that MA process here. So we go to estimation, model definition, and we have to add also 1 for MA. Let's add it. And model options, we still keep it checked, the drop mean term for model. And the results, we're not gonna choose anything here, let's just run it. And yes, we want to replace it. So again, we can see our graphs or plots after differencing. Now we can see that our table has expanded to the MA and the AR processes. So now it includes both of them, and they are statistically significant, these coefficients, so which is good. Now let's go down. So it shows us autocorrelations, and we can see that they are insignificant, but you can also look at these graphs and you can actually see how, sorry, again, at these two. I'm used to seeing the time series plot first. So this is the autocorrelations plot, and this is the partial autocorrelations plot, and we can see that actually there is like just a little tiny spike here at lag of 6, and here as well, but that's fine, you know. And also for the white noise, which is June box, we can also see like a tiny spike here, like over this benchmark. So that's kind of like okay-ish, maybe not perfect, but it's still more or less okay. So we also have our formulas, and that's pretty much it. So that's how we'll run our forecasting. Now guys, let's move on to forecasting. Modify task. Let's go to stage 3 forecasting. So the model is adequate, we have identified it. Now we have to forecast. So enable forecasting steps, we have to check it here. Now options, we know that our intervals are not monthly, they are daily, so we have to set them at daily. And we know that we want to forecast 31 days, which we took out of our data set. The confidence level will be set to 95. Plots and results, we want to see our forecast, we want to see our residuals, and we actually would like to save forecasts, and maybe we do not want to see it like in this place here in the results, because they're not that important, but we would like to use them later for the further analysis. So now let's click run, and let's run our forecasts based on the model we just created. So there we go, we have again the information on differencing. Now we have these MA and AR processes again, so everything is like repeated here. The only difference that we'll have will be the residuals here as well. And do we have any plot with forecasts? I don't know why we don't have it. Let me just go back, because it would be also nice to have that plot, you know. Ah, okay, so I actually clicked on suppress displayed forecasting output, so that means we will not see the forecast, so no, we want to see it. So then, yes. Okay, let's give it some time. Okay. So now we have these forecasts, and we also have the lower and upper 95% confidence limits. And this is the forecast itself. For that December of 2012, and this is the full graph with our short forecast for 1 month only, and our residual plot. So we can actually see that it's not perfect, because our residuals, they have huge spikes at some points, which is kind of not neat really, but I mean, we tried, and we still need to calculate everything also for the validation data set, right? So now here in this tab we have the results of the forecasts, and they're here for both the training, and if we go all the way down for our validation data set. And if we retrieve our actual data points from our data set that we already have, if we add it here, then we will be able to calculate the residuals, and then we will be able to calculate whatever information is missing about the validation data set. So to export it into Excel, we can go here, export forecasts, and then choose the extension as Excel. And we can also choose where we want to save it, for example, like my documents, or I don't know, wherever, and we can type things here and just save that file.